Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be discussing something a little different. So I've been debating whether or not to cover any of the new Monster High literature or graphic novels and comics that have been coming out. And you all already know that there's absolutely zero shortage of the ones that are available. From New Scaremaster to Once Bitten, Twice Dead, Lord knows there is so much Monster High literature to cover these days, and believe me, I could spend hours talking about all of it because I have read almost all of it at this point in time. You don't want me to drone on for hours, though. We're actually just here to cover House Haunters issue 1 through 3. Now, this is a limited mini-series that they're running for Halloween season this year in 2025, and it's actually kind of good, so, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on bell notifications, and hopefully there will be a part 2 to this if I have the energy and motivation to do more of it. Our story begins with the ghouls pulling up to a haunted cabin, or at least it's supposed to be haunted according to the quote-unquote Scare B&B listing that they rented it from. This was their idea of a spooky Halloween weekend, and they look forward to really tearing up the place. Cleo and Claudine start off issue 1 by redecorating. There's a singing fish mounted to the wall that Cleo particularly does not like, and I think it's kind of funny that they even point this out in the first place. It's also really fun to see these two interacting again, because I feel like that's a dynamic that I have missed from Monster High. Meanwhile, we also get introduced to Toralei and Deuce, who are our B-plot. They start off at the science fair, and their goal is to eventually meet up with the rest of the ghouls at the cabin, which involves a lot of hijinks on these two parts. I mean, they literally set the science fair on fire. Honestly, this was a dynamic duo I wasn't expecting, but I am very much here for it. I think they're actually really fun. It's just kind of a shame that we don't see a whole lot of them in this comic. Of the 3 issues I have so far, they only spend about 1 page per issue on these 2 characters in particular, and I know it's a side plot, but I do think that, they could have given us at least a little bit more of a double-length issue since it's a holiday season kind of thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is really fun and all, but I think personally I would like to see a little bit more of the wacky hijinks that these two are getting in, because, I mean, we check in with them at least once per issue, and that's probably going to be the case until they fully meet up with the ghouls, but with the story the rest of the comics are telling, it's kind of like, oh, hurry it up now. While Cleo and Claudine are redecorating, Laguna finds this weird door to the basement. The other ghouls are kind of disappointed that the house doesn't seem to be super run down or haunted, so they're all checking various rooms, and Laguna lingers by the basement door because she's like, oh, well, how do I get this open? It's boarded up and very clearly locked. Meanwhile, Draculaura and Frankie happen upon this video of a monster spider dude. The video is from this monster professor who talks about the mad titan Echidna, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and how she is dangerous and has been sealed in some sort of tomb beneath the cabin. He also says the magic words that help release her, and weird things start happening in the house, like a wailing wall that seeps out of the basement door and starts attacking Laguna, which is kind of like, oh, poor thing, this is why you don't go off alone in horror movies. Of course, none of them knew this would happen, but hey. All in all, issue 1 was a pretty good hook, I would like to say. I mean, these are pretty inexpensive. They're only $4.99 here in the US, but I don't know exactly how long they plan on running this story arc for, because, I think it's only going to go on for another 3 issues. And I'm curious to see how it wraps up. Issue 2 picks up right where we left off, with the house now attacking the ghouls. Frankie gets attacked by the kitchen and promptly dismembered by a possessed toaster oven, which also then takes control of one of her arms and starts making it attack her as well. Draculaura, as the protector of Monster High, sets it upon herself to keep her friends safe and decides to go save Laguna, and also try and get all of her friends out of the cabin. However, there are these weird creatures that are lurking outside, and they have started causing trouble as well. Among them is this creepy psychic squirrel that's kind of important for later. There's also a double werewolf. Meanwhile, Toralei and Deuce's little subplot continues with them sneaking aboard the Soul Train and being forced to dance in order to not be thrown off, which I think is a really fun little thing. I mean, they're having a way easier time than everyone else here. The psychic squirrel then just decides that it's going to drag Frankie away into the forest as it continues to dismember her using scissors. It's not as graphic as it sounds, but it still is kind of like oh dear God kind of moment. And of course, because foreshadowing, the basement door that Laguna found earlier seems to be the source of all of the problems here. And the laptop that the video was playing on gets taken down there by some weird little coat rack thing. The ghouls then split off into pairs, except for Frankie, who's being dragged away into the woods. Issue 3 picks up with Draculaura and Laguna going down into the basement and chasing the laptop, which has been carried off by that little coat rack thing, and also a garden gnome at one point is down there. We also get to see that Laguna has night vision, which I think is really fun. I mean, we kinda got hinted at that in Great Scary Reef, but also not really. Side note, it's also really fun to see these two paired off together. I feel like that's a very uncommon pairing for Monster High. Like, thinking back over G1's entire written and visual canon, I honestly can't remember too many times that Laguna and Draculaura have, like, one-on-one interactions with each other. It happens, but it's not super common. Frankie also tries to sneak back into the cabin after being dragged off into the woods earlier. However, the weird animals are now just sort of standing guard out front, and she has to find another way inside or fight her way through. It is also at this point where we check in once again with Toralei and Deuce, who have stolen a hot air balloon and have almost reached the cabin. They get really close to it, but can't figure out how to land the thing, and eventually they start drifting back away, to which Toralei calls out for Claudine, and she is heard in the house. Speaking of which, inside the house, it seems the very spirit of it, whose name has not been revealed in any of the issues I have yet, shows up and starts fighting with Claudine and Cleo over her decorations being torn up. And while that's happening, Frankie goes into a shed and pieces herself back together with a leaf blower, a mannequin leg, a car battery, and a shovel. And Frankie just says the words that she is, when in doubt, crashing out. Actual line of dialogue. It's great. I love that for her. At this point for the end of the issue, we rejoin Laguna and Draculaura in the basement, where they are chasing the laptop and almost catch it when they happen upon the scary entombment of Echidna, which starts to leak purple mist. The self-proclaimed mother of monsters is very offended that Laguna and Draculaura are down there trying to stop her escape, so she releases this purple mist into the house completely, saying that she is power, and subsequently takes away the powers from all of the ghouls, which makes them look human. At least Claudine and Cleo seemingly have turned fully human at this point in time, which interrupts their fight with the spirit of the house. And Laguna and Draculaura are also turned somewhat human down there in the basement and are left to cower before the door in complete darkness, presumably all while Frankie is approaching the house and preparing to charge, literally, at the beasts outside. Something of which I gather will happen in issue 4 whenever that is released. And that was House Haunters issue 1 through 3. All in all, it's a pretty fun read. I mean, they're deeply unserious. And for $4.99 an issue, I can't really complain about anything that's happening in them. I mean, it's just spooky Halloween fun, and of all of the modern Monster High things that I've read over the years since they've come back, I can confidently say that this is one of my favorites that has ever just been written. The illustrations are also really nice. I'm sure you gathered by now that I have elected to not show them on camera here, mostly out of abundance of precaution, as I've never covered comics like this on the channel before, and I have heard that there are some copyright restrictions involved with showing comic pages. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below.